Oh, we might need to come back because I'm seeing a little guy. I'm gonna switch you back.
Little guy.
I saw.
Little guy gone? Little guy
Nope,
there?
nope. There's a tail. I see a tail.
Okay,
Oh my God! Look at this little tail.
Yeah. There's my.
Hello.
But yes, this is Chopper.
Hi, Chopper.
Oh, Chopper.
Yes, she's a good girl. Very good.
Little Chopper.
Apparently, she was really upset at that game.
Oh,
Oh,
it was all the ASMR.
Chopper.
She was not into it.
It was all the ASMR.
Yeah. Yeah, she's good. She's named after a
My favorite war criminal.
yes. Exactly.
Daisy doesn't know what that means.
A chopper?
But
A chopper is the favorite war criminal?
Yeah.
Oh. I don't know what that means. You can leave me in the dark about it, but it's more fun if there's an answer.
She has her little face right on my
Oh
leg.
my god! Look at that little baby! Hi! You're so cute. Oh, look at those little ears. Oh, the
You
Star
see
Wars
Daisy?
character. Thank you, King of Lesser Men.
ah,
Aww.
Yeah, he's very good.
Oh, from Rebels of Ahsoka. Okay. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Look at this little... Oh my god! Wow, that's a cutie. Yes. Oh.
I don't know what
is she like a
she's
little
looking at.
Me.
She's very.
And like, if I do
right
something,
now.
will she be like? She's like, what the fuck?
I think she's
She
looking at all
can't
the
hear
memes.
you guys. Yeah.
She's
Well,
looking at all the
maybe she
memes.
can.
She's learning. Oh, what a
Exactly.
cutie. Oh my
Okay.
gosh. Tony
Bye.
Chopper. Bye, Chopper.
I think she's done. Yeah.
Oh, what a cutie. Oh my gosh. Well, Dr. Olivia, are you ready to get into this interview?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Dom. This week is your task to give us our little razzle dazzle at the beginning here, if you will.
Yeah, I think I can do that. Let's
Hell
see.
yeah.
Webster's dictionary defines sleuthing as the state of being united as spouses in a consensual contractual relationship recognized by law.
Wait.
But we like to say that sleuthing is when people other than Dom and Daisy help us write the interview questions. And that's what happened. Thank you to the Folkwise sleuth teams who researched guests with us, including this wonderful interview we're about to get into. The sleuths as ever are beautiful, intrepid, and
dynamite.
Pugilistic.
No might.
Pugilistic.
Yeah, they're down to fight. They're down to fight.
They are. That's true. That's true. All right, awesome. I got first question for you, Olivia. What is CVPP, and how are women of color patient narratives influenced by medical mistrust in the patient-provider communications that they share?
Oh, man. Well...
It's a big one. We start big.
Yeah, because actually just the first part of that question could take a long time to answer.
Fair.
So, yes, the acronym that I use in my work frequently is CVVP, which I'll put in chat. That stands for... I really, like, acronyms have their use, but I hate it when people throw them around and don't explain it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it makes the knowledge less accessible.
Totally.
So, CVVP stands for Chronic Vulvovaginal Pain. So that is an umbrella term that is very descriptive. Within it, under it, the umbrella, falls a number of conditions that are characterized by chronic pain in the vagina and the vulva, basically. Some of those conditions are things like vulvodynia or provoked vestibulodynia. Those are kind of the most common. And also, I should note as well, chronic vulvovaginal pain is a broad term. And the area of it that I specifically study is pain that affects people who are not going through menopause. So even that is like a complex thing to ask because there is almost no research on transmasculine people, anyone going through any kind of hormone therapy that is not expressly cis women experiencing menopause. So even me saying like someone who's not going through menopause has a bunch of assumptions rolled up into it, and who
Sure.
is like within the
Mm-hmm.
kind of chronic vulvar and vaginal pain I'm talking about. But basically, it's normally who I'm researching are cis women who are like 18 to 40-ish, average age around 30, who have one of these conditions, and they've usually experienced a lot of issues, delays trying to get diagnosed. Um, Now, there are other terms, there are other umbrella terms to describe these conditions. One of them that I think is more commonly used is the sexual pain disorders or the sexual pain conditions. I do not use that term because it's a weird inversion of the relationship between symptom and
Yeah.
cause.
Now that you're
When you're
saying it, yeah, I'm
Yeah, go
like,
ahead.
oh yeah, that makes so much sense. Like, yeah, to imply that like it would have to that it is a problem during sex, as though you that's the only time that you have
Right.
these organs or these parts of your bodies. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and it has a long history, which I can get into later, but basically, yeah, I use chronic vulvovaginal pain. Instead, I think it's more descriptive. It's doesn't make as many assumptions. Um, One of the conditions that falls under this umbrella, for example, is vaginismus, which, depending on who you ask, doesn't exist or isn't called that anymore, but it's totally discipline specific.
Yeah.
Like,
In the chat, we got a vaginismus gang represent.
yeah. Vaginismus has a really interesting history, like diagnostic history. Um, but yeah, again, I could answer just literally the first
Yeah.
part of that question for an hour, so I'm
Well,
gonna
I think
stop for now.
yeah, it's like I think that's helpful. And then if the second part is specifically about like
Mhm.
patient narratives, specifically from those of women of color who are influence the narratives. How do they influence medical mistrust or in the patient provider communications, or how are they representative of medical mistrust?
Mm. Yeah, so my work with women of color has mostly been quantitative, but there are some researchers who have done interviews, so I can say a little bit more about narrative from their work. Um, but yeah, medical mistrust is a huge issue because we are already dealing with chronic pain, which, regardless of who you are, you probably will experience diagnostic delay when trying to get treated for chronic pain, like, regardless, you know? On top of that, we're looking at conditions that affect cis women or other people who have, vaginas and vulvas. And there's a gender bias when it comes to pain there. Now, that is only like a third of the story, because when you think about women of color's experiences with the intersections of pain and gender and race and ethnicity, it's even more complicated. Even more so when we're talking about it in a sexual reproductive health kind of context. So I was going to say long story short, but this isn't the time for the short version of the story. But essentially, a lot of research, qualitative research on sexual health generally, shows a lot of problems with hypersexualization bias, with like this sexual risk behavior type bias that tie to these stereotypes, or what sociologist Patricia Hill Collins calls controlling images, which are these really powerful kind of stereotypes that actually can go on to influence like policies, um, legislation, medical systems, things like that. So you can think of, for example, the stereotype of the Jezebel, like this hypersexualized woman, woman of color, black woman, Like you can think of the Hottentot Venus, which is like also a clear, like kind of just horrible, like bastardization almost of the body of a single black woman's body, to fulfill this narrative about how black women are, again, animalistic, hypersexual, insatiable, whatever. So you have all of these different narratives swirling around, and then you have someone who's dealing with chronic pain that they want to treat. So the qualitative research on this area is like, yeah, black women have a hard time feeling. I mean, going back to the game we were just playing, feeling seen and being respected, being acknowledged by their doctors, where instead these sort of stereotypes stand in for that. And they talk about experiencing like feeling like they're never competent enough, in the way that they talk about their own body. Like their pain isn't understood when chronic pain already isn't understood well.
Right.
But it's again sort of being impacted by all of these implicit and explicit biases from providers. So it's hard. I mean, there's a lot of work on like what having a provider who looks like you does
Yeah.
to sort of mitigate the medical mistrust issues.
Mm-hmm.
But there aren't a lot of black physicians, first of all, in the US, and uh finding one who specifically like is specialized in sexual pain, because there isn't great training, like general training for OBGYNs or family doctors or whoever else you might encounter on this issue. So medical mistrust, I think, is a huge force in black and other women of color's experiences trying to get treated for this. It may even be a force, for whether or not they seek treatment at all, and that it will affect how you present yourself when you go to the doctor, and all the different sort of things you have to think about when you get into that waiting room, like when you're talking to the receptionist, how you present yourself as competent, because you're already fighting all of these other, stereotypes. So yeah.
That's, I mean, just as a big overview, like that was super, super helpful. You're making me think about like in connection to the game too, like this idea that the patient should be the expert on their experience of pain is actually pretty new in history.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that I mean, and the intersectionality, the layers embedded in all of that, people have varying degrees of belief or confidence in their own bodily awareness too, which is interesting. And I think that your work is totally speaking to that. And I don't know, something that I think is especially cool about your work, that we kind of talked about this in like a second during the tech run through, but just to bring up again, like even though you're doing a lot of quantitative stuff and you're not a folklorist, isn't like on your resume or something, you're doing what Toke Thompson in our show called studying non-institutional discourses. So you're listening to the people who aren't the doctors talk about those experiences, and the way that you were highlighting that, I think, was like really cool. And this maybe even to transition to our next question, that's a little bit more like folklore aligned in some ways, but something that you are pointing out in your dissertation. So what quote community knowledge productions have you observed within online healthcare groups and about their patient experiences? This is maybe like a nod to past guest Geneva Harleen too, who is doing that in a different mental health capacity, not a physical health capacity.
Yeah, so oh my gosh, there's so much. There's more that I want to publish on. So I'm working on one project with someone who's in the chat, I think. Um
Oh, hell
right
yeah.
now.
Let's go
That's
chat.
yeah, that's about these like online health forums, because when you're dealing with a chronic issue where there's a lot of diagnostic delay, there's a lot of like dismissal from doctors, stuff like that. A lot of people turn to these online forums to search their symptom information, to just like vent about what they're dealing with, to learn about doctors in their area who might be better, you know, more specialized, etc. There's some really interesting stuff. So I'm going to start with like, I guess more of the positive things, and then I'll talk about some other stuff that's less positive, which is more like the research I'm working on with one of our chat members. So positively, full disclosure, I study this stuff because I was diagnosed with one of these conditions in 2014. I talk about this all the time. So chat, if you have like questions about my journey to diagnosis, feel free. I
Hell
always
yeah.
like doing that. Yeah, I always like doing that because these are underdiagnosed conditions. So there might be people in chat who
Yeah.
are like,
What's
what
that
do I
like?
do?
Yeah, and
Um,
also, in addition to that, not only is it underdiagnosed, but it's also a very taboo condition,
yeah,
or like a taboo, so people don't always know who to like. You can't post on Facebook. You can post on Facebook like, hey, my arm broke. Anybody else have an experience? You can't really put like, my vagina hurts. You know, like people are gonna get weird. So I
yeah,
totally get that. Yeah.
yeah. So, anyway, so cool things. So first of all, yeah, the communities can be really good. They can be very supportive. I've used them in the past, especially in working through, yeah, some of these taboo issues. So, like, we receive all these sexual scripts, especially if you are like constantly inundated by heteronormativity, which, like, we all are. You get all these scripts about like what sex is, first of all. So what counts as sex, and then what like if it's supposed to be painful, so specifically talking about penetrative like vaginal sex, because that's the coital imperative. That's the idea that it's the one form of sex. Also, as a quick disclaimer, I am going to be talking about sex. I want everyone to remember, though, again, like chronic vulvovaginal pain, not sexual pain dysfunction.
Yeah, that's important. It's
I
not.
can talk about more later, but
There's like a Venn diagram, but it is made.
yes,
It is talked about more like a circle, but it's not. We're trying to
exactly.
pull it apart. We're trying to. Yeah.
Yeah, precisely. That's a really good way of putting it. Um, yeah, so I've seen people like sharing doctors' lists on these forums if they do want to, you know, get that like formally medicalized sort of attention, which is a constant tension too. We're always going back and forth between, okay, do we want more medicalization? Do we want less? You know, it's a real struggle for people who are dealing with something like chronic pain, where the costs of medicalization are clear, but the costs of not having access to that are also clear. However, there's a big like DIY kind of vibe with these forums. Oh my gosh, Sniff.
Sniff wanted to come and talk about vaginal health. He's
Sniff,
really
does
invested.
your vagina hurt?
Yeah. He says,
Wait,
Like,
I don't think Sniff has one, but
I didn't think so either.
yeah.
But he's very invested.
Hey, everyone has a pelvic floor, so
yeah,
That is
he's
true.
very invested in that. So
yeah. But yeah, there's a big DIY culture because one of the big treatments for some of these conditions is
right.
dilators. And if you can't like get a regular diagnosis, if you have a good OBGYN, but like there isn't a pelvic floor specialist, physical therapy specialist near you, or it's too expensive or something, you can buy dilator kits online.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them come with like guidebooks and whatnot. So it's a lot of people also trading this like knowledge about, okay, so what do you do to move up a size? Like how do you like prepare yourself for dilation? How often do you do it? Do you feel like you reach a certain point and then you just never do it again, or are you always, you know? So there's all kinds of knowledge about treatment being shared.
I have like two like quick follow-ups to that. One is that sounds really similar a lot to trans women who get vaginoplasty, and I read Kate Bornstein's book from like the 80s, I think, about this experience. It's a Gender Outlaw. It's Gender Outlaw, I think it's called. And so like that's an interesting one where she talks really explicitly about a lot of this stuff. It's a little bit of a dated conversation, but it's really cool like area, thinking about how these intersect between like not just like cis women and straight sex or whatever. It's a much more complicated. The reason that people use dilators are like across the board, and it makes sense that it would be a DIY community for that community as well. I mean, I'm like, my brain's blasting a little bit. And then, have you seen Sex Education, the TV show?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just thinking, if there's a character that has vaginismus, that's what they call it in the show, and is like practicing that. I was just curious. It's cool to see that mainstream represented, and maybe it's also indicative of that more like less like in a medical context and more in like a DIY context, that like use of dilator or like, you know, this kind of practice. That's cool.
Yeah, it's people. I mean, think about it. Like, if you've tried to get treatment and you feel like the medical system is actively like hostile towards you, it makes sense that you would sort of like seek refuge in community in these other groups, but you still want to achieve this goal, whatever your goal happens to be. Now, when you brought up trans women, oh my gosh. Okay. A few months ago, I saw, this is a good transition too for the second part of this conversation.
Okay.
Good transition.
But, I saw there is a lot of gender and sexual orientation discussion on these forums too. It's not all just about treatment.
Right.
There's a lot of discussion about gender identity and like femininity and what womanhood is, and like how the coital imperative is intimately tied to womanhood, but how dealing with these kinds of problems can really like help you to question heteronormativity, to the point where sometimes I see people on the forums like, I got diagnosed with this and it helps me like actually come out as gay or as trans or something. So there's that. With the trans women and dilators though, I saw a discussion a few months ago on their vaginismus subreddit about a really cool connection that trans users were making with the cis women on here, because there was some TikTok floating around that was super shitty, basically, that was about, I think it was about trans women using dilators for the neo-vagina, for the vaginoplasty.
This honestly sounds like such a TikTok, a misinformation TikTok thread. Yes. You couldn't have said more like algorithmically perfect words for that to end up like blowing up on there. Yeah.
So it was something like, well, like, obviously trans women aren't real women because they have to do this dilation. Like, real women don't have to do that.
Real women don't dilate. Yikes.
Yeah.
What?
So then the vaginismus girlies were like, excuse you.
Yeah.
So there was a good, like, discussion on there about, like, womanhood and how we tie it to the body and, like, how that's questionable and how... You know, like, it was kind of awesome to see, because this is my transition. No pun intended.
Like.
So the project I'm working on with my colleague who's at IU, Gender Studies, is about community formation on these forums and transphobia. So my colleague is more focused on, well, not only, but they have more connections to the polycystic ovary syndrome forums, which kind of use the online forums in a similar way. And they were noticing, like, a lot of really transphobic stuff happening on some of those forums, because the logic was, well, for a cis, like, straight woman who has specific expectations of femininity and how her body might, like, conform to those expectations or embody those expectations, PCOS is a completely different experience than for someone who is, like, transmasc or non-binary or something like that. And to the point where people were arguing on these forums that trans people could not have PCOS because the experience is so different. Yes. And, like,
that's interesting.
Kind of not wanting them to be, like, part of the community or in these forums. On the flip side,
I did
I
like
wasn't- Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I just did like an
Go ahead.
extra big like what, not because my mom is an ultrasound specialist and part of what she does is like to help with diagnoses of polycystic ovarian syndrome and things like that, because yeah, she's the one doing the ultrasound being like, wow, look at all of those things that are growing very big.
There, yeah.
They're not really wanted.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah, that's why I was like, really? Because like it's almost, I don't know how you can say that it's related to. It's literally a thing growing in your body in an organ that you have. Like, how that's like a
Right.
like. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to like cut you off,
Yes.
but that just to explain my like how do people say that? Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like some of the symptoms of PCOS are like increased hair growth and like weight gain and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it can be very like threatening to normative idea, like heteronormative, especially ideas about
Sure.
femininity. But yeah, there's this discourse was coming up. There was another post that was like, is PCOS an intersex condition? And many people were very offended by that.
Interesting.
So
I feel like that is a more intriguing question to me because it.
you
I don't.
kind of,
I could see why people maybe would be upset by that, but also people are upset by the concept of intersex anyway. So you could say anything was that, and people would freak out probably.
yeah. So yeah, we're on the vaginismus side. I wasn't seeing that as much. In fact, in one of the bigger Facebook vaginismus forums, there were very strict rules about gender neutral language.
That's cool.
Like if someone made a post that was like, "Hey ladies, blah blah blah," then the mods would be like, "No," they would delete it. They'd be like, "You can't do that here."
Yeah, they like post it again with a different thing, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna say that there's no transphobia in those forums. It just seemed like there was more of an active effort from at least the like leaders of these communities, the mods, the admins, to make the space more welcoming, at least in terms of things like pronoun usage. So we have like a survey that has both quant and like qualitative open-ended items in it. Cool. I'm kind of like doing the quant side, and my colleague is doing the qualitative stuff. We're still collecting data, but we have a lot of respondents so far, and yeah, we'll be analyzing that soon. It'll be part of their dis, so it's very exciting. I'm guessing that cis women will demonstrate different levels of transphobia.
Sure.
Unfortunately, but I'm hoping that there's at least some like inkling of community building that's more like communal across the forum. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah,
that's fascinating. Do people ever, as like a kind of a follow-up to this, I assume because of the type of diagnosis and sort of pain experiences that people aren't using a lot of photographs. But I have seen, I bring it up only because I've seen in other like medical communities, people will like post a picture of spider bite and be like, what's that? You know, like, is there any kind of like, are there lots of memes also maybe?
Oh, there are memes.
So many memes. I would love to know what the like vaginal pain like meme
is so funny. There's a creator who's really good. Her name, I'm gonna put it in here.
Hell yeah.
Let me make sure that it's right. But she's a pelvic floor physical therapist, and she has amazing memes about vaginismus. Yeah.
That's
I'm
awesome.
gonna put her thing right in the chat. Yes, she's based in DC, I think, or Maryland or something like that. But she has one where it's oh my god. She has one where it's it's like this rock character from Marvel, I think.
The Thing.
Where he's all dried out. It says your vagina watching you try to have sex without lube and with the ceiling fan on.
Oh my god. We'd even wondered if the person you're referencing is the pelvic dance floor. Do you know that person?
That's not the person I'm referencing, but they're also very good.
Anyway.
She's
Oh, yeah.
also awesome.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Okay, I got another question for you. What new communicative strategies do you envision for improving patient-provider communication? So, like, what would you imagine is a way that conversation across the, to kind of undo some of the medical mistrust is? Go off. Tell us what needs to happen.
The first problem is medical education. Sucks. It just sucks. I think it sucks for chronic pain, but like if we want to be more specific, it sucks for these conditions, which is annoying.
Yeah.
Because vulvodynia, for example, has a prevalence of like 8% in the US, which is high. That's not a rare thing.
Yeah.
Also, the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, they have this figure that 3 in 4, again, cis women will experience painful sex at some point in their life. Not necessarily chronic, but like, it's happening.
Yeah.
Like, it's a pretty common issue. And on top of that, like, trying to get a pelvic exam when you have this sort of issue is like a huge problem. Anyway, so the first thing is like there just needs to be more education about these conditions, period. It's completely unacceptable for physicians to tell patients things like, well, you're just stressed, so you should drink some wine. And then
I mean, okay.
everything will be fixed.
Great.
That's a really common
wow.
thing. If you read something I always like showing in research talks I do is there's a qualitative study from 1995 that references that, and then there's like studies from 2019, 2020, etc. saying the exact same thing.
Wow.
So that's a huge issue. Number one, just education. When it comes to communication, like once you're actually in the exam room, I think one of the problems is there are some misleading ideas from research that was not good about what these conditions look like. So even for people who have education, I don't even know if like the training that's out there, some of it's good, some of it's not. What I mean by that is there was a study done in 2015 that compared Black women and white women who had vulvodynia, so chronic vulvar pain. The study was just asking them how they describe their pain. Like, what words do they use? They found that white women used the term burning more often than Black women. And Black women use like throbbing more often.
That's really fascinating.
Yes. Now pain is like super subjective.
Totally.
Okay. There's some utility in like diagnosing conditions based on that sort of quality of the pain, like whether it's burning or whatever, aching, whatever. But the problem is like everyone in this study had the same condition and they're saying different things. And if you look at clinical like guidelines for physicians on how to diagnose vulvodynia, they say to look for burning pain. So that's a problem.
Yeah, that is, right. Because they're going to be like, it doesn't feel like burning. It feels like, yeah.
And then on top of that, you also want to consider like, okay, depending on the assumptions that the provider is making about the patient, what do they think when they hear burning pain first? Mm-hmm. They're probably going to think it's an STI.
Right.
Or something like that. So that means that, okay, you're getting a test, it comes back negative, and you get a call from your doctor, and they're like, hey, your test was negative. And then there's, like, no follow-up.
Like, okay.
Because they're like, we didn't find anything, so it'll probably just go away or whatever. There's a problem the answer to this question is, I can't wave a wand and say, okay, now every like practicing physician knows what I know about
Yeah.
this condition. What
Right.
I will say is doctors need to be okay with saying that they don't know what the problem is. And then they can react by saying, I'm going to find out. I'm going to maybe find a colleague who knows more about this than I do. I'm going to like see if I've had any similar patients. We're going to try things, etc. But too often, patients are told they get an exam done that may or may not be the right kind of exam. It may be like incorrectly done, whatever. And they're told, well, I don't see anything. So I can't do anything. I can't prescribe something, you know, whatever. So I'm just going to send you on your way. I might say a really condescending comment along with that. Doctors need to be okay with saying, I don't know.
Which is like pretty low bar in terms of like.
But it's
know.
also like goes against what they're trained.
It's true.
At the same time, you know.
Yeah, what they're trained and also like what the world thinks of them. I mean, the world, that's broad, but you know, like what they're like in the United States, like what you're trained, you're culturally indoctrinated with from you know, as growing up. Like it's just part of it that you think that they're an authority and that they know stuff, but they're just like everybody else in that they can have a lot of really specialized training and still be wrong. Like you're not perfect 100% of the time. Like that's just not real.
Even just like,
oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, I was gonna say even like so many like TV show doctors are just like detectives for bodies, you know?
Yeah.
I'm sitting here like House would never say I don't know. That's like a season arc for that guy.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, people just think you're going to the body detective.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the whole. Okay, so this is story time.
Love it.
It's 2023. Yeah. Okay, so 10 years ago, I was like a freshman in college, and I wanted to do journalism. That's what I wanted to do for my career. I wanted to do it internationally. I was learning Arabic. I was like not doing any of this at all. I had like no like academic interest in gender studies or whatever. I get diagnosed about, it's November, like 4 months from now.
Okay.
So I saw a doctor who sucked, who I learned later like didn't do the exam properly, and she like diagnosed me with vulvodynia, which is not really what I had. But in the same breath, she prescribed me with the NuvaRing, which is a birth control that you have to insert into the vaginal canal, which is not very helpful for someone who has chronic pain.
Yeah, why would you want that's very weird. That does seem really weird.
Really weird.
Considering how many different types of birth control are out there, that does seem like the weirdest one to recommend.
She was bad at her job. I think maybe she thought I was like scared or something, and I just needed to like get over myself. I don't know.
Also, yikes.
Yeah. Oh, I wrote a very poor review of her. But anyway, the doctor I saw after that, I went home. At the time, my home was Baltimore. So I actually saw a doctor in Baltimore, and she was like, oh, I actually know what this is. And she like gave me a diagnosis, and she gave me a referral for pelvic floor physical therapy. And at the end of the appointment, I don't know why she said this to me, but if she hadn't said this, I may not be here today.
Yeah.
She said, if you had come in here a year before, I would have no idea what to do for you. Because I was not trained on this. And this is someone who had been practicing for like 15, 20 years. Okay.
Wow.
Like not a new, you know, she's seen things. But she was honestly, she was like, I kept seeing like people around your age. I was like 19. People around your age coming in here and, you know, having these issues, and I didn't know what to do. It wasn't in any of my training. Like nothing that I tried helped them. So she like sought out her own like continuing education like credits, you know, to be able to diagnose. And yeah, I'm like
Wow.
better now. That was like important for my diagnostic journey, but also signaled to me,
Yeah.
holy crap, like this is like, why would she like be that vulnerable with me? That was her really, now I realize it was her like really pushing against that like medical authority kind of
It's
like
yeah, by saying,
uh
by telling you like that this independently she had to learn this, which I mean,
yeah.
it's good on her, but it's also like, damn, yeah, the systems are imperfect, and maybe
Yeah.
yeah, being like 19, I can imagine, or 20, whatever, like right at that time, kind of being becoming aware very fully of all of those too.
Yeah, it took a
Olivia,
minute,
yeah,
not gonna lie. I took a class that was on Foucault history of sexuality that was also very important for where
Hell
I am
yeah.
today. Foucault is not perfect, but he was like part of
yeah,
my journey for
hell yeah.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't like, I still think back to that all the time. Like, that was great. She didn't need to say that to me at all, but she chose to as part of her like care, you know? It's really, yeah. She's a great
That's super
doctor.
cool.
If you're ever in the Baltimore area and you need a
Ever
OB-GYN, I
recommend?
think she's still practicing, so I can
Yeah.
recommend it. Yeah.
Um, I know that Dom, I have a question for you really quick before this last like question, since some of the chat questions were about this
Ask some of those
topic.
chat questions. I agree.
That's what I was thinking. So some of the we got a couple chat questions that are pretty good, and I think that they make sense to address now as opposed to like after when we usually do it. But couple quick ones. Any books that you'd recommend as a starting point for general audiences to learn more about like any kind of chronic pain related to vaginas or like sexual health,
CVVP.
CVVP?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of books written on this. There is one that's has a name that I personally hate, but I will.
Like, I'll recommend it
It's not a
anyway,
bad.
but
It's
Crazy
not
for
a
the
bad
worst.
book. um. Hold on. I'm like fine. Well, I don't know if I should be doing this or if this is something Dom is normally doing, but
It's something
if
Daisy
you
is normally doing, but
okay.
want to do it, you can, or we
you
can
you
help you
can.
do it if you tell us what
Yeah,
the
that's what
name
I'm saying.
is.
I'll help you
Yeah,
do it.
I can't remember the author's name right now, which is ridiculous because I've like talked to her about this book. But
it happens.
the book is called It Hurts Down There.
Interesting.
And it's about, yeah, like chronic vulvar pain. It's an ethnography.
Oh, cool.
Um,
People love
the
an
author,
ethnography on this show.
By Christine
yes,
Labutsky.
yes, her,
Yeah,
yes,
cool.
Christine. I think she's at Virginia Tech now, but
Nice.
yeah, that one is pretty interesting. I think that it might be a little bit out of date because it doesn't have like anything about how people use the internet to find community
Mm.
when they're dealing with this stuff, but I think
Oh,
it's a good
interesting.
starting point.
Yeah, and that's totally a huge. Today is at least a huge component across diagnoses, disabilities, medical issues. Yeah, just the online
Mm-mm.
communities for sure.
There's a paper, there's two papers that I would, well, I have my own papers, but there's two that I would recommend that I'm gonna find the links for.
I got you. Just keep talking.
Yes.
Yeah, Dom can help find them too if they're
Okay.
super out there.
I just know like the author's last name and the year,
Oh,
and
see,
so that's
there we
like
go.
not
Yeah,
super helpful.
yeah.
But the first one I put in there is from a really big study coming out of some people working, I think out of either the University of Kentucky or University of Louisville, but they do some really awesome work on Black women's experiences, just like sexual experiences generally, and then they've done some specific things on pain. So they have a great
Mm-hmm.
paper that came out pretty recently about an interview-based paper about, yeah, Black women's experiences trying to seek care for um, painful sex issues. Um, yeah, they're awesome. I also, there's one other that I'll recommend, and it's like juicy for those of you who like academic like drama.
Oh,
You know it.
you know it.
But there was a paper in 1999 called "The Sexual Pain Disorders: Is the Pain Sexual or is the Sex Painful?"
Ooh, that's cool.
It's a really, really good paper, because for those of you who don't know, vaginismus and dyspareunia, which just means painful sex, were in the DSM for a long time. And vaginismus basically still is. It's just called, let me get this right, genitopelvic pain penetration disorder. It's a very long name.
Also, to tag disorder is interesting too. I always think about that too. Is like,
and it's listed as a sexual dysfunction in the DSM. So along with things like,
instead of just like a reproductive, I guess it's not really reproductive either. So that's weird. Yeah, it's just a weird body
neurological
thing. Why does it have to be? Yeah, it's like it's almost like neurological. Yeah.
There's debate about it. I mean,
it's interesting.
There's been some research about like anxiety's role in vaginismus, but I don't think it's like a one-to-one.
Yeah.
Case by case basis. There's even debate about how to define vaginismus itself, which is like literally a debate that started in the 1830s.
Wow.
So we still haven't like decided what vaginismus is, just that it's a thing.
Yeah.
So the 1999 paper is good, and then the drama is the lead author of that paper published another paper suggesting that dyspareunia shouldn't be in the DSM, or it shouldn't be in the DSM like categorized in the way that it was, because of this question of like, okay, so are we assigning it some kind of like special sexual value?
Yeah,
or something?
That's weird. Yeah, to say just discomfort during sex is not
right.
There's so many, we're so much wrapped up in a statement like that that is distinctly not physical.
Right.
That's so interesting.
But yeah, he wrote another paper in 2005 that's similar to the 1999 one, and a lot of people didn't like it. And then he wrote a reply, which was very spicy.
Let's go.
I love that.
So
I love that.
I will just
love a spicy reply.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let me get this 1999 paper real quick.
Yeah.
And then you all can like do a scavenger hunt.
Hell yeah.
To find the other papers.
To find the other one. I did drop in the chat one of your articles.
Yes.
So we got you covered there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Which one?
The chronic vulvovaginal pain in patients of color benefits.
Yes.
Yeah, because So Bad It Hurts said, told everyone to read Dr. Adams's papers.
Yeah. So I was
Big
like,
fan,
well,
I
guess
guess.
what? Here we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just published one this year, actually, like a couple of weeks ago. That was on medical mistrust. So
cool.
Yeah. But those are the things that I would recommend people start with.
Okay, I got two other chat questions for you. There was an original question and then phrased as a better question, but I think they're both good questions and they are different enough that I'm going to do both. I think they're both good. My cat's being a nut right now, but anyway. Okay, you're a nut. Do you want to read this question?
You named your cat a verb. It's kind of nutty coded.
He's kind of nutty coded. Sniff. All right. Question. Do you find that doctors tend to be more dismissive of vulvovaginal pain, or that they tend to overtreat it?
That's a really good question. So I think both things can be true. So yeah, I think that first of all, the education that doctors do get on vulvovaginal pain tends to be, again, like focused on sex as the problem. So that can go one of two ways. It can be that the doctor doesn't think that it's a real condition. And they think it's because of, again, like, you're too tense, you're anxious, whatever. And so they don't do anything. Or I think that I'm going to frame this question by shifting away from cis people and talking more about people who are trans or non-binary or queer in some way. I don't have data on this. It's the next like big study that I want to do. But I know, like, on an anecdotal level, that seeking care for this kind of thing can be it can be more tricky, it's more complicated, or it's complicated in a different way for LGBTQ folks because of this over-treatment issue. Because if you get to a doctor who does think that your pain is real, and so they do want to treat you, and they give you, like, lidocaine, and they give you, like, they say, okay, we're going to do physical therapy, and you're going to do dilators and stuff. The question is, what is the end goal of the treatment? I've talked to a lot of trans friends who are like, they're like, I have pain, but I don't even know if I like really have this condition or if I really want to be treated because I'm afraid that the doctor is going to assume that I just want vaginal penetrative sex, and that's what the entire treatment's going to be focused on. Because there's not enough discourse at all about treating these conditions in people who are not cis heterosexual women, or even like cis women with cis male partners. So in that sense, I think there can be like an over treatment issue, or like a failure in the priorities of the patient and the provider, because there's this like total lack of communication that, oh, someone could want treatment for this not for the express purpose of like vaginal penetrative sex. You know, they could be doing it. I saw someone in the chat talking about tampon usage. Pelvic exams, again, can be like really debilitating if you have one of these conditions and your provider is like doing nothing to help you actually, you know, get it for like preventative care, or if you have a specific issue, whatever. So yeah, I think it can be under and over treated.
In the chat, Gooey Demon responded, as a trans man...
Who asked the question in the first place?
Yeah, who asked the question in the first place? He said, as a trans man, the first person to give me the right balance between caring and calm was a lesbian gyno. She referred me to a PT just so I could get pap smears with no other goals. It's very cool.
Yeah. I had a PT once, so I'm like a cis woman. I'm like mostly straight, I would say. I'll go on the Kinsey scale. I think it's like 6 is exclusively homosexual. You know, I'm probably like a 1 or 2, whatever.
You're like the straightest member of the X-Men.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm not like, I'm probably like a 2. Anyway, whatever. But I had a PT who was terrible, and at one point, I was like, you know, going through pelvic floor treatment, and I had just gone through a breakup, and she asked me towards the end of a session when I was gonna get a boyfriend again so that I could actually find out if I was cured or not.
So you could find out if you were cured? Yeah. I'm sorry, has this woman never heard of a dildo? There's so many other ways. There's so many other ways to like what? Yeah.
That really was horrible. So I'm really glad, Gooey Demon, that you were able to find that other gyno, because it's like, it's a huge issue. And
cured is also nasty in general, as Gooey Demon points out too.
Oh yeah, just the idea of cured is so weird. It's so weird. So
damn. The Gooey Demon's second question that might be able to, you could probably riff on a little bit here. Do interviewees that you've collected data from or conversations, experience narratives with, do they feel like they've been condemned to a sexless life because of their diagnoses?
Yeah, I think some people feel that way. I think it can be especially hard for, well, not especially hard. It's just
stigma.
Grappling with the coital imperative is hard. you know.
Damn, write that somewhere. Grappling with the coital imperative is
It's
hard.
That'd be a Nightbot command.
Damn. Yeah,
Yeah.
Nightbot command. Damn.
But it's hard, and I think like another project I'm working on is thinking through how CVVP actually helps people to work through that like fear of like a sexless life. Because again, it goes back to this question of like, well, what is sex to you?
Right.
What do you get out of it? Why do you do it? Do you think it's important to a relationship? Like, why? All of these things. Because there's interview research of like cis straight women who say that, you know, they feel like sex is something that they are just supposed to provide in a heterosexual relationship. Like, that's part of the exchange. Which is like, I totally get how they're thinking in that way, how they're feeling that, because normativity is a powerful force. Heteronormativity is powerful. It's one of the most powerful ones. The coital imperative is like a key component of that. And if you are dealing with a health issue where in heterosexual relationships, when we talk about health communication, oftentimes it's the woman who is like dealing with all of the health communication in the relationship. So on top of that norm, you're dealing with the pain issue, which is affecting your sex life, and you have this expectation that you're supposed to be like providing almost, I've seen it described as the third shift of labor. It really sucks. And some people like do things despite the pain, and others are like, well, I guess I'm never having sex. People who are single who are dealing with these conditions have like a hard time because they almost have to think about disclosure if they're dating. Like, when do I tell someone that I have this issue? And those conversations are happening in such a rich way online. So that sort of thing is not captured by the book that I recommended, the It Hurts Down There book. I think that, in a weird way, CVVP helps straight cis people develop similar communication styles that queer people have had to develop because of like the coming out process and things like that. I'm working on a theoretical paper about that with
you better. That's great.
It's making me think of
with
like
some others,
like the, you know, disability awakening too, that like disability, we are either all or are going to be disabled at some point. And whether you understand yourself in that frame or not, I think it happens earlier or later in life, depending on your proximity to the disabled community in general. But that is another community that I think has done a lot of work to be like, well, we've been thinking about our bodies in this way the whole time. Sorry, you abled people, like, wake up and see, like, this is, you know, your body is not yours. It's constantly changing and you don't have a lot of control over it. So,
totally.
You know, among other observations, but yeah, totally.
Oh my gosh, Gooey, yes.
Yeah, Gooey Demon, yeah. You see that? They're cool. Hell yeah.
Oh, and he will absolutely stitch your pull quote on a pillow or something.
Amazing.
Grappling with the coital imperative is hard. Yeah, we made you a chat command now, so hell yeah.
Yeah, I was in Atlanta just like hanging out with friends last weekend, and I found this like framed drawing of a pelvis, like the bones of the pelvis.
Hell
I
yeah.
really wanted to buy to have in my office, but I didn't have room for it in my suitcase, sadly. But yeah,
that'd be dope.
Gooey for sure. We'll talk more.
Hell yeah. Dom, you want to ask the last, like, more serious question before we get into our little funsy questions?
Let me ask the last more serious question, even though this is kind of the transitional, fun, serious question. But
it's sort of a turning point. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Olivia, some Folkwise audience members are grad students or people transitioning to jobs in and outside of academia. What is your one application tip for those applying to jobs in either context, academic or non-academic?
Okay, well, in academic context, everyone at IU is gonna know exactly what I'm about to say.
Hell yeah.
If you
Good.
want an academic job, you should be focusing on grants.
Yeah.
And this is like kind of icky because the reason I'm saying that is because you have to understand that universities are on like a business model. There's an exchange between faculty and the university with grants, and So Bad It Hurts is literally a grants proposal specialist, so he can speak to this too. But grants show, one, that you know how to talk about your work in a way that makes someone want to give you money to do the work, which again, like, I really understand the ick factor there, but that is really legible to universities. So I would say, like, if you really want an academic job, you really want to stand out, get some grants. They don't have to be huge at all. And grants beget grants. So if there's like a $250 travel grant you want to apply to at your university, do that. If the conference in your field has a student research grant, apply for that. And like, just do that because it will make you stand out. Period. For the non-academic side, remember that if you went to grad school, you have transferable skills for other types of jobs. Don't let people tell you that you don't. I know that, especially if you're in a longer program and you're like, oh my gosh, I have no interest in academia, but like, how do I, get a job when this is all I've been just, dealing with? You didn't just like waste your life the last, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. years. You learned skills. You probably learned project management skills. You definitely learned communication skills, written and verbal, if you ever present your research. These are skills, and then depending on your methodology, those are actually transferable as well to certain industries. I have a good friend who is finishing their DIS and just got their like dream job doing DEI type work. So you have learned things in your journey, and you just need to know how to speak the language of whatever industry you're trying to get into. But I guarantee you that something that you've learned how to do in grad school is like transferable. I guarantee it. So grants, transferable skills.
That's really good. I'm thinking about like just learning how to properly send an email could really be a skill that not enough people have. Enough people have that. I mean, that's a very basic one, but yeah, working with somebody to figure out what skills you have that are transferable. There's so much. There's so much there. That's great advice.
And I also want to say, as someone who works outside of academia, learn how to write grants.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Because if you need money and it's not legislative, it's not right after legislative session, there's only one way you can do that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good because like the other annoying thing I'm going to say, because I know a lot of y'all are more humanities focused, I feel like in the social sciences, the way that we write papers is closer to how grants are written. So you kind of need to like, I find that you need to change your writing style a little bit more to write a grant if you're coming from a more humanities background.
That's fair.
It's like a skill that you have to learn, but it's a skill you totally can learn. Like all of y'all are capable of doing it. But just know that writing a grant is different from writing like a conference paper or something like that.
Yeah, like more like technical, less poetic.
I have a rule that I have to work 3 jokes into every conference paper, and I don't do that for grants.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Also, least surprising thing I've ever said. I have a rule where I write 3 jokes into a conference paper.
Yeah, wild that you can make that happen, or at least have so far. But anyway,
Well, our next question was about Chopper, but Daisy, are you going to cut the interview so Chopper is the first part?
I think Chopper might be the first part of the interview since he was
Hell
already on here. So I
yeah.
think that's how that will roll. But yeah, we were gonna ask more about Chopper and being a favorite
Yeah.
war criminal, but he was there, so we caught a glimpse of him.
Or
So
she was there, yeah.
yeah, or excuse me, she was there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You just want to know about Chopper then?
You can just keep talking about Chopper.
you
Alright.
could. I mean, yeah. What's the story?
Chopper is the best girl. I'm wearing a
She's so good.
yeah. I feel like I need to talk about my shirt at some point also.
Talk about your shirt.
I also need to explain my username.
Yes. Oh my god. Trill.
Okay, better question than the sleuths came up with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the shirt, first of all, let me take my camera down. Okay, so for anyone who has played Final Fantasy VII, this is a joke.
Oh my god.
About Sephiroth.
Did Sephiroth do this?
Did Sephiroth do this? Which is part of. It's pretty early in the game.
Yeah.
when you encounter this, but he's making a snow angel, but there's only one wing because it's Sephiroth, the one-winged angel.
Yep.
So, I love that shirt. It's a gift from my brother.
Aw.
Did Sephiroth do this is one of like my favorite show don't tell moments in games.
Yeah.
Because you're like yeah, can we try to contextualize it for Daisy? You spent
I haven't played it.
wasted an hour of your life fighting a fucking snake. You wasted real life that you could be touching grass or talking to other humans, fighting a fucking giant snake. And then the next time you see a snake, it's just been cleaved in twain by an impossibly large sword. And you're just like, oh, I'm scared of Sephiroth. He beat the boss faster than I could have ever done it.
Oh my god.
It's like right after you get out of, if any of you played the remake part 1, it's like right after all of that stuff happens and you leave Midgar. But yeah, it's a good shirt. So, shirt is explained. Username, is that what we're doing next?
Let's do username.
That'd be great.
Okay, so this will explain both the name and also why it's pronounced the way it is. Because I know that was like...
At first I did it wrong.
Yeah. So, when I was in high school, one of my teachers would post grades like publicly, but everyone had to have like a code name that you didn't know whose grade it was. Now everyone knew. It was not very effective.
That seems really bold choice to post grades
weird.
Publicly. Why? For what purpose?
When I was like in 8th grade, I had a teacher who did the same
What?
thing with like student ID numbers, and we just learned each other's student ID numbers that way.
That's what happened.
Which is so much worse.
It's such a lot worse.
I went to a school.
Oh my god, what?
I went to a school that how do I explain this? My classmates, their parents went to this school together. So, like, really small community, and I was the new kid. So no one knew who I was, which, like, wasn't helpful for this method, because then people immediately knew, like, which was mine, because it was the one that they didn't know.
Yeah.
Are you
Anyway,
like Dorothea at Garrick Mock? Aw.
Yeah.
It is 2-ear because at the time I was really obsessed with the show Top Gear about cars.
I love it. I didn't want a Top Gear like reference.
Yeah, it is. So I didn't want it to be like literally just Top Gear, I removed some letters. And then the 5 is because Jeremy Clarkson used to also be on a show called Fifth Gear.
Fifth Gear.
Right, Fifth Gear. Oh my god.
So that's what that is. Now, I never thought about how to pronounce it because I wasn't planning on like
ever
uttering it aloud ever. But the first time that grades were posted, I remember walking into the classroom and hearing this kid go, "Who is 2-ear?" Because I scored really high on like,
you're like, who the hell?
Yeah. And they're like, who is 2-ear?
Yeah.
So that's why I think of it now always as
Yeah.
2-ear because of this kid who was really annoyed.
That's really funny.
That's
Who the hell is
incredible.
this? That's awesome.
Olivia, I ever told you that like my oldest brother started off as a Top Gear kid?
That I think you did tell me that
Yeah,
at some
awesome.
point because I
and-
think our brothers might know each other.
I think yeah. Oh yeah. I hope they do.
Oh my
Because
God.
then it turned from that to I could probably do this to like doing Subaru suspensions in a driveway, and
Yeah.
now he builds race cars in the garage he owns.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
He's really done it. I'm so proud.
Aw,
My brother was they probably knew each other.
that's
That's all
awesome.
I'll say.
How old's
Hell yeah.
is your brother older or younger?
Older.
Okay, mine too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And he's older than you, I think.
Okay,
So yeah.
hey, my older brother's older than me. My older brother is 10 years older
Like what?
than me.
Okay, yeah.
My older brother remembers when Kurt Cobain died. That's like
Okay,
very
that's
Gen X of
good.
him.
That's very
Yeah.
Gen X of him, yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Quick things about Chopper. She's great. She's very high energy. We're gonna buy her a treadmill.
Oh,
Because-
That would be
my
fun.
God.
Oh my gosh.
You need to buy her one of
Yeah.
those dog-sized hamster wheels.
Dog hamster wheel. Oh my
I
God.
love those.
Those are very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. But she's a good girl. She's like 4 years old. We got her from the pound in Bloomington. So yeah.
Oh,
That's
we
right.
love a pound puppy. That's so cute.
I used to have a pound puppy
Aw.
when I was a kid, like one of those stuffed animals.
Oh yeah.
Came with like a
Oh, yeah.
VHS. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Don.
Yeah.
Which of these questions is next? Do you want to do this one, or you want?
Okay, I gotta do this one. Olivia, because I have told this story, but I'm not going to be able to do it as well as you, and it's your episode. So, can you describe to chat? Can we get the Olivia POV, your inner monologue, etc., about our wonderful trip to Marianna, Florida,
Yes.
like a month ago, and what transpired in the caverns,
Yeah. Yes.
or
So
I guess directly outside of the cavern?
directly outside of them. Yeah, so many months ago I decided I wanted to propose to So Bad It Hurts.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah!
And I recruited Dom as a co-conspirator in this plan. Oh, I'm gonna get there, don't worry. I'm gonna get to the cavern monologue. Anyway, the funniest part about this is, yeah, I put in a ton of planning. Like, there was a lot of thought that went into this because So Bad It Hurts is a really big Lord of the Rings fan,
Mhm.
and I wanted to do something that was a Lord of the Rings deep cut. So I
Fun-
needed
Yeah.
to do a lot of research to do this.
Fun
So
fact
we-
about So Bad It Hurts' his Lord of the Rings fandom. He is yet another alumnus of Guts, as frequent viewers of the channel will know. As several of our guests are Guts alums, but his gamer tag was Samwise.
Yes.
Oh, I see
Yep.
it. I can see it. That's all I needed
Yeah.
to know. Tell me everything.
Yeah. So the Florida State Caverns Park in Marianna was chosen before its resemblance to Helm's Deep and the Mines of Moria because So Bad It Hurts' favorite Lord of the Rings couple is Gimli and Legolas.
Hell
Okay,
yeah, ship
so-
it. Let's go.
Yes. So anyway, I'm like holding it together over the weekend, but like the day of, I'm having a rough time. And the three of us met in the gift shop before the tour started. And I remember seeing Dom and like I felt like that guy in the game. Like, who am I?
Who am I? I'm gonna
Like,
do
I
this
don't
right now.
know what I look like.
Do you see? It's
was-
like you needed to have Dom there to be the guy laying in the bed, being like,
Yes,
"I do see
yes.
you there, and I am going
Yeah.
to document this, and it is going to happen. Don't worry."
Yes, straight up. So Bad, I think, was just excited to see Dom because they hadn't seen each
Cute,
other.
yeah,
I
of
mean, none of us
course.
had seen each other in a while. So
Since
he didn't clock-
2019. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't clock anything. We get into this damn cave. I'm like, I'm sweating. I'm like having a rough time. The first room that we like get into in the cave is the wedding room because like some of the formations look like a chapel or a wedding cake. It was a wedding
Oh, okay,
cake,
like a cake,
right?
yeah.
At one point I'm just like, I'm so hot, I need to take my hoodie off. Which I think Dom was like, okay, she's struggling.
Yeah.
Like something's gonna happen.
I
Like,
wanted to say something so bad, but also so bad was right there.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
He was right there. Dom and I talked about the order in which we wanted to walk into and leave the
Oh my god,
cave.
this is amazing.
We kept so bad in front of us. I think partly later I realized that was a good move because it allowed me to freak out and he didn't notice what was happening. So that was great. The cave was a good cover
That's
too
really
because
funny.
Dom had a professional camera and
Right,
so
yeah,
bad
he's
was
like, yeah, let's
oh,
just
Or I
look.
didn't, or legally I didn't. Left it. I
right.
left it at the office.
Legally, you did not have one.
There was some imagined impetus for Dom to be in
Yeah.
Florida on this little
I
trip.
did field work
doing
that
a number of
weekend, that
things.
earlier that
Yeah.
morning, I think.
Yeah.
Right,
What was
yeah,
what was our tour
exactly.
guide named? Was it Logan?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Did you tell
He
your
was
tour guide?
he was a ham.
Did you tell
He
Oh,
him?
was
we'll
really
get there.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was like, did you tell him?
eventually.
Okay.
Yes. Eventually we did. He was really good. He was obviously the
great.
superior tour guide. But yeah, I'm just like losing it honestly in this cave. And we finally get out and yeah, I got so bad a replica of the Red Book of East March. Is that what it's called? Which is Bilbo's book where he writes The Hobbit, and then Frodo continues and writes the rest of the Lord of the Rings. And canonically, the book is now in the possession of Samwise and Rosie's oldest daughter. So it was a very good item for him as a big
Right. That's
Sam
cute.
fan. He also received a pendant necklace of Sam's Hobbit door.
Oh,
Like
is
a
that what we
professionally made? That's what you saw earlier.
saw that
yeah.
flash there? Yeah. Hell yeah.
And I wrote the actual proposal with the help of ChatGPT because I wanted it to
I love that.
sound like Tolkien had written it.
That's such a good idea. Oh my gosh.
Yes, West March. Yes.
But yeah, the Bilbo.
Yeah, the Red Book. You know.
Mhm.
So it was really great. We stepped out of the cavern, and I hand so bad the book and this like scroll that has the proposal written on it. Dom gets into position. So bad has no idea what's going on. Give him the book. He thinks like he's just like laughing, like he thinks it's
Yeah.
I don't know, a joke or something. And Dom was able to depict the shift in his in So Bad's face when he realized what was actually
Aw,
happening.
That's so
So
cute.
yes, I told you it was a birthday present.
Oh,
It's not like totally a lie. Your birthday
Yeah.
had just happened like a week before that, and
showed up late.
And-
haha.
it was your 33rd birthday, which is the Hobbit coming of age.
Right.
birthday.
That's true.
So yeah, that's what happened.
Then we saw Logan afterward, and he was like, "Did you have a good tour?" And we were like, "Logan."
Yeah.
he looked like he was gonna cry. He was like,
Aw.
"Damn, my part-time job of the weekends really does make a difference."
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Hell yeah.
it was good. It was good. And then yeah, I was able to decompress and Dom was able to comment on how freaked out I looked the whole time.
Tom was like, you were sweating your ass
Yes.
off and very nervous. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I
That's
so
awesome.
bad wanted to be like, "It's gonna be okay," but I didn't want so
know.
bad to be like, "What's gonna be okay?"
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So better it says, so who is your favorite Lord of the Rings couple?
Who's my favorite couple?
Yeah, or is,
Oh
I
my
don't. I
gosh.
is that a question for just all of chat or for Olivia specifically?
I mean, damn. I really. It's a hard question.
I don't think I have enough of a stake in any of their relationships to like have a good answer to that. I have I guess, yeah. So I don't know if I could answer that question well.
I mean, this is like kind of an annoying answer, but I was very moved by the relationship between, and I'm going to forget all their names, but in the Rings of Power, the dwarf guy and his woman.
Aw.
They're great.
Dwarf guy and woman, we love that.
You know who I'm talking about. I'm waiting for him to or
tell us.
even the
Yeah.
dwarf guy and Elrond.
Oh,
Like, they
yeah.
have a really sweet kind. Well, I mean, I don't think it stays that way, but like they had a strong friendship for a while, so I liked that too.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I have 2 more funsy questions for you, and then we have a quick game.
Wait, Daisy, you don't have one?
No, I don't think I do. I mean, what am I gonna say? Frodo and Sam. Wow. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
I don't know enough about, like, that's,
I
like,
mean, that
as
works.
much as my ship, like, level. I don't have any deep cuts, and I don't think I know well enough, but, I mean, obviously.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
was
like,
a
Frodo
thing.
and Sam is
I mean-
like... Frodo and Sam, I
Here's
always felt that, like, it was like Tolkien being like, I survived World War One. I had to be a little gay in the trench, you know?
Right, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So bad says
Durin
Durin
and-
and Disa were the
Yes.
dwarves. That's cute.
Them.
Durin.
I like them.
That's cute.
Mhm.
All right, 2 more funsy questions, and we have a little game. So, who is your dream guest and video game for gender-wise, folk-wise, but make it gender studies?
Oh my gosh.
Who would you have on?
Dreamcast and video game. Man. Okay. I mean, dream guest as in who I would want to interview.
Yeah.
I would.
Like, if you were the host of gender-wise, yeah, who would you bring on to interview?
I might go with Shamika Thorpe, who is the author of one of the papers that I sent y'all.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
I think she is still an assistant professor, but she's just doing like really interesting work right now in an area where I haven't seen like enough work. So
Yeah.
I would love to be able to sit and talk with her for a while about her research, and like I guess it would be slightly selfish because I would hope that the interview would turn into some kind of collaboration.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I always get excited when I see stuff from her. So she would be
Hell
high
yeah.
on my list. And then the video game. Man, there's so much gender in video games. I mean,
There's
I could
so
also,
much, yeah.
another dream guest would also be King of Lesser Men, and we would play The Last of Us Part 2.
Oh, yes! Love that.
That's he's like writing or has already written a great paper
Yes.
about Ellie, the character.
Mm-hmm.
Love Ellie.
I think The Last of Us is a really actually great gender game
Yeah.
for sure, either part 1 or part 2.
Mm-hmm.
Um
Yeah, how does gender get
Yeah.
maintained in societal collapse?
Yeah.
Or not? You know, in what ways does it change, and how does that change what, you know, heteronormative family structures look like?
yeah, I think I would also love to play through the last ending of Nier Automata. I'm not going to say
Mhm.
anything else because it would be a huge ass spoiler. But that game is so good, and I could have any guest sit and like think through what the end of that game means. So
That would be awesome.
That.
Yeah.
If I was hosting this week, Olivia, let me tell you.
I know. I was
Yeah.
thinking about Nier, but like I don't know what part would you play through, and like is there any
Simone.
of it? Well, yeah.
That was literally just like my first idea, and then
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, I'm not getting back from my work trip until
Yeah,
an
we're
hour
like, we'll
before
figure something
stream."
out, yeah.
It's a Daisy one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
that sounds awesome. I mean, there's also just like a ton. Oh my god, I can't believe I have to allow. My Tom just had to allow the term orgy. Lol.
I can.
I mean,
can.
maybe. There's a ton of like very interesting just medical horror games in general too. It'd be. I thought about like choosing a different, like maybe we could play a medical horror game because it just is so relevant to what you do, but none of them are relevant enough. None of them are really talking as much about identity, and a lot of them are simulation games, and a lot of them, like the good stuff isn't until like late gameplay or something like that. So, anyway.
Okay,
yeah,
you know
awesome.
what
Okay.
a thought I had?
What's another?
A thought I had which spread out into I would love to get just like find a way to have two guests play a video game with each other, like two returning guests play a video game with each other. But I want like Olivia and Bobby Geiker to sit down and play Catherine Full Body together.
Oh my god.
Because that was in his like myth and video
true.
games dissertation.
Yeah.
You know? And I bet Olivia, I bet you have thoughts, you know?
Yeah. That would be super
Catherine,
fascinating.
okay. I haven't played Catherine Full Body yet because I was honestly kind of freaked out from all of the promotional material on it, but I did play the original Catherine and loved it. And I thought about Catherine for this too.
Oh yeah.
It's about relationships, I think.
Yeah.
It's like the easiest way to say it. It has a really interesting concept and it's a fun puzzle game. But yeah, I mean, Catherine would be a good one.
All right, I got one more question for you.
Yeah.
Who is Cash, and what was his favorite snack?
What?
Dom, we made it an image. We made it an image.
No. We just had
my
a sleuth bomb.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You're talking about a horse.
We're
right?
talking about a horse. We're talking about a horse.
Sleuths are often you might be able to guess who your sleuth was if the response was you're talking about a horse.
Yeah.
Yes. I can. Okay. Yeah. So Cash was the pony I learned to ride horses on. I used to compete. I haven't done that in a long time, but his full name was Cash Flow because he was the barn's like main like starter horse for everyone because he had the smoothest canter ever that I've ever experienced on a horse. I think his favorite snack was we would have these like dried apple treats and I would eat one and then he would have one. And, like,
oh my god, I love that.
Go back and forth.
Wow.
So
reflexive commensality.
That's like my dad giving the dog pepperoni.
Yeah.
Reflexive commensality. You're transferring knowledge to each other through eating things together. Okay, anyway, I'm being a nut right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was good. I'm guessing he is no longer with us just because of how much time has passed.
That's fair.
Since like I knew him as a kid, but he was a very good. He taught me a lot. So, yeah, he was a good boy. Chestnut.
And you ride horses before Folkwise every week, right?
Yes.
That's
there was a couple of times you've been like, I'm back from riding horses. You've logged into chat by saying I'm back from riding horses.
Yes. I've gotten back into it since moving here, yeah.
What kind of style do you ride? Do you just ride like Western or do you have a specific preference or?
I'll tell you what the sleuths thought, but keep going.
What did the sleuths think?
I think the sleuths thought you did English?
Yes, that's correct. I did English. I competed mostly just in equitation, which is basically just like, do you know how to ride a horse in this style? I trained in hunter jumper, but I moved kind of right at the point where I would have moved up in competition, and I also started working with this horse that was super green and inexperienced, so I spent a lot of time helping to train him and like taking him to his first shows and things like that. But yeah, I'm do English styles. I've like ridden Western a handful of times. It's fun. But I just like the way that I got into writing was through an English trainer. So that's how that happened.
I'm just
Hell
picturing the Predator epic handshake meme, and it's like Olivia riding horses, Dom playing Fire Emblem, in the middle is the smoothest canter of all time.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is the end of our formal question list for you, but we do have one thing left to do, and that is play a game. Dom,
Yes.
are you interested in prepping that? Finally, you get to be asked this question, Olivia, while I get the thing set up on our Discord end.
Well, with horses in mind, I want to ask you, Olivia, have you ever made a tier list?
I have not, but I've watched many a YouTube video of making a tier list. So
Well, you get to make one today. Tier lists, if you don't know, chat, come from fighting games as a way to rank character choice, but people use them on the internet to rank stuff from everyday life, and that's why we like him here on Folkwise, because Folkwise like to talk about everyday life, and I think it is time to get into a tier list for Olivia and Days. Do you wanna?
Yes.
Do you want to go the rest of the way, and then we can?
Yes.
make it
So
work?
just gonna scoot this over a little bit on our screen
Oh,
here.
scoot. You're gonna scootaloo it over.
There it is. Okay, so what we have crafted here for you, we really were like just trying to come up with, the sleuths were collectively trying to come up with like what would be a great tier list to complete with Olivia, and we did notice that on Facebook, your TV shows included
And some of your oldest profile pictures.
And some of your oldest
Oh my
profile
God.
pictures did in fact include My Little
yeah.
Pony based
Friendship is magic.
content
Yeah.
there. So we thought,
Wow.
at first we tried to, think like, well, maybe we could have Olivia like rank the main characters or something. That would be a horse
let me
girl
tell
thing.
you, no tier list has ever kept it to the main six and Spike. Like, it's like
Yeah.
the
No.
main MLP characters, and there's like 40
Yeah,
character
right.
selections.
Literally, there were so many of them. And it was stressful, and we were like, what are we gonna do? We just have to make our own on this. Like, what's the deal? But fear not, because we found a tier list that specifically is just for the cutie marks of the
And
major characters.
And it's just like the main cutie marks,
It's
so
just
you're
the
fine.
main, just the main cutie marks. And we have them as a list here to go through. So you and of course this particular pre-made tier list does not do our traditional S to D, but rather best.
You could
cool.
you could do that right now.
I could change
Daisy.
that. Do you think we should do that, S to D?
Oh, I am a big
All right.
proponent of S to D. S being grade above 100, and D being barely passing.
Yes,
Daisy likes to get alliterative with it.
I
never
do.
go.
I do. So, and we have these, we can go from any particular order on this if you're seeing one that strikes you or not, but, the aesthetic,
Well, yeah.
this can be aesthetic based, it can be personality based, it can be anything, any way you want to write this up. So I'm happy to go in order from like top to bottom or to just choose at random.
So I have to confess, like some of these I totally recognize. And
Hell
Hell
yeah.
yeah.
Perfect.
Been a
Hell yeah.
long-
No,
it's been a while.
Olivia, to be fair, Daisy was like writing them down
Yeah.
like they were
Right.
like Middle Ages heraldry, being
I
like
was,
Yeah.
I was,
like
We're gonna
blue
need
Blackwing with moon, and I was just like, that's Princess Luna. Come on.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm with you there. I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact for the Star Trek fans, the voice actor for Q is also the voice actor for Discord, who's basically the same
Oh,
exact
yeah.
character in
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Friendship is Magic. So it's literally been 10 years since I've like laid eyes upon this
Amazing.
show.
I
So
love this.
there's that. But S tier is obviously Rainbow Dash. There's like
All right.
there's no discussion.
There's no discussion.
That's right.
Rainbow Dash. Let's go.
Rainbow Dash
Out
is
the
S
top,
tier.
Rainbow Dash.
Absolutely. And from there, it's going to be hard to rank everyone. Honestly, like, I think let's go next to Yeah, Princess Luna.
Right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Next to
so,
Rainbow Dash, so we got 2 S's right off the bat here.
Yeah, I can't remember her personality as much, but I just think that cutie mark is like kind
True.
of ominous.
I
which
think with
Yeah,
Luna,
it's
everyone thought she
mysterious,
was
yeah.
evil and she was just misunderstood.
Yeah,
That-
so that's definitely
that's good.
S tier
That's
Yeah.
good.
for sure.
Mhm.
I vaguely remember a plot line where Applejack is like contributing to some questionable Southwest politics around
Yeah,
the, like,
yeah.
Buffalo or something.
Yep, that happened.
So I have to put Applejack in D tier. I'm sorry.
Damn.
Well, if you're
Applejack.
putting Applejack in D tier, does the same thing apply to Apple Bloom?
Was she
Or does
also
she-
there?
Oh wait, excuse me. This is
Oh, of
Apple.
course.
Hold on.
No, that was Applejack, and then Apple.
That's
That
definitely.
was
yeah,
Applejack
and then
in
the
D.
tri-
Apple Bloom is the
this
first
one.
one. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to say guilty by association. I don't remember if they were both in that.
No, she might not.
episode.
She might not be in that episode. No.
Okay.
Okay. Where's Pinkie Pie is like the
3 balloons.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The balloons. Okay. Pinkie Pie. She's not S tier.
Okay.
Um,
Definitively not S tier, but
no,
You're hurting. You're hurting.
not for me.
oh,
But you know, because I think she's like could be an enabler.
Well, that's
mhm.
true.
She really likes to party, you know.
Mhm.
And you know, partying is fun, but also you gotta
Yeah.
rein it in every now and then.
Yeah.
So let's put Pinkie Pie in like high B tier, I guess.
Okay.
Top of B.
She's pretty good, but yeah. Okay, let's go next to I want to think about Twilight Sparkle, which I believe is the last
Very last
Yeah.
one.
one. Twilight Sparkle is pretty good, but she's a little bit of I think she could look inward more frequently and maybe be a better listener
Very fair.
sometimes.
Very fair.
Twilight Sparkle and Jean Grey are kind of the same girl.
Yes. Yeah.
That's fair.
But she's pretty OP, so I would put her in A.
My
Hell
comment
yeah.
stands.
Yes. Okay, the one that's yellow with the butterflies, that's Fluttershy, right?
That's
Yup,
Fluttershy.
Fluttershy.
Fluttershy is pretty awesome. She's pretty good. I don't know if she's like Rainbow Dash, Princess Luna level awesome though. So probably also A tier. She can go in front of yes, exactly.
Let's go.
All
Let's
right.
go.
Because
Alright.
I feel like Twilight Sparkle needs to be taken down a peg.
Fair.
Just a little
Fair.
bit. She's a little extra. Okay, I'm starting to lose the plot now with the
All right.
ones that are left.
Got it. We
Well,
got them all listed
I
on
think-
our end.
Queen
Yeah.
Celestia or something is one of
Mhm.
these.
Yes.
Celestia is
this one.
that one. Yeah, she's the
Good
sun.
I always liked her. I don't know why, but I always liked her. So
Yeah.
we can put her in A as well.
Like bottom of
Yeah.
A.
Yeah,
All right.
that's good. Okay, who
So
else
this
is in here?
this is Cadence, the diamond. It's sort of you can't really see the yellow parts as much, but it's sort of like maybe a diamond heart with a crown, like a gold crown on the edges, or some gold
Okay.
filigree.
Okay, I'm not as familiar with Cadence, and I'm not very inspired by that.
She's Twilight Sparkle's sister-in-law, the princess.
Okay, is she like a chill sister-in-law or
Eventually.
Oh.
eventually? Okay, so she has to learn some lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not really loving the cutie mark. I don't think it's
Yeah.
that cute. We'll put it in. We can put her in C because she eventually redeems herself. Apparently.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
And then
Online.
I think to
So-
go along with that plot line, the purple shield is Shining Armor,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
who is Cadence's husband, Twilight Sparkle's brother.
Oh
I
yeah.
read all the Wikipedia pages. I did not remember this.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, I
feel
mean-
you. Yeah, just throw them in. Well, I like that shield a little bit more because
If
it
it-
looks like a women's soccer team's shield. or
Yeah.
something. So
That's
I'll
true.
put him in B.
Okay.
He can be above his his
Like
wife.
that, like at the bottom of B.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
This cat's gonna climb me. Okay, here we go.
Good.
There we go. He's my little.
Very good.
Great.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, okay.
Steph, what is he doing?
Sure
Oh,
if
he's
this-
okay.
Oh,
Did he get one? Oh no, he did. Okay.
Is he going for a leaf?
He's getting all the dry leaves in that plant. He's trying to get the dry
Aw.
leaves on that fell off. He
Daisy
loves a
Sniff
leaf.
over here eating leaves.
Sniffs eating leaves. He loves a leaf. Can't blame him. I do too. It's it's in the family or whatever.
yeah. Uh,
All right.
Okay, so yeah, who is next? I don't even know.
So these 3 shields are linked in best friendom.
Okay.
They're apple. This is Apple Bloom. This is Scootaloo, and this is
Okay.
Sweetie Belle.
Okay.
And what did we look up? They got this in an episode to unite them in friendship or something.
Yeah, they Daisy, to fill you in on my little
Yeah, I
pony
need the lore.
which
I need
of course you know
the deep lore.
is they were late bloomers and didn't get their cutie marks right away and tried every scheme to try to manifest cutie marks, and all they
Mhm.
needed was best friendship.
Aw,
Okay.
that's cute.
Well, I understand like feeling pressured by social norms and expectations. For
yeah, yeah.
The show has some stuff to say.
Sure. Yeah. I don't love the design of their cutie marks, to be honest.
Yeah.
Me neither.
I think
Yeah,
it's- but it is kind of like lesbian
I
flag.
was just gonna
colors,
say
which
this
is
one's
cool.
like kind of lesbian flag. Like
Of course,
the
Scootaloo
tint-
gets
yeah.
the lesbian flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think because of I'm compelled by their story and lesbian representation, we can put all of them in A.
Hell yeah, and in any
After
particular
Celestia.
order.
Yeah,
Okay.
in any,
Hell yeah,
any
there
order.
they are,
Yeah.
united.
Okay.
All right, so these diamonds. Where's the sun? Go ahead, Dom. If you know.
Yeah, that's rarity.
Rarity.
Rarity. Okay. Yeah. I like the diamond motif for sure. I can't remember much about Rarity though. About her story.
Clothes. She likes clothes.
She likes clothes.
She's kind of mean the whole show.
Damn, for being. I mean, does that make her rare or?
Okay,
Well, I guess like the
yeah.
joke was
Oh,
they wanted
yeah, I
Rarity to be like
remember.
snappy, but she's kind of just like
Mean.
mean.
Oh, damn.
But is she like fabulous? Because one of my favorite
Yeah.
drag queens is mean, but also like no one can touch her.
That's
Um,
exactly Rarity.
Violet
Mhm.
Chachki is that queen.
Hell yeah.
So I think Rarity needs to go. I mean, it's not great being mean, but like if you're the best, you're the best, you know?
Yeah.
So and I do really like the cutie mark because it makes me
Yeah.
think of The Sims.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my god, just make them green.
So
This pony's called Sim.
let's put her in like B, but like high B.
High
So
B,
the-
like up
Yeah,
top or in the middle?
yeah. She can go top B.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
yeah.
Up next we got I just
Starlight
read Starlight
Glimmer.
Glimmer.
Okay, Starlight Glimmer. That is not ringing a bell at all in my
I
brain.
did not. I don't think I made it to Starlight Glimmers this season, but I think she has a falling out with the gang and becomes a season antagonist.
Mm.
Oh, well.
I think at some point she forms the Avengers to fight Discord in her like redemption arc.
Mm.
But I think like the girls leave her out and she becomes a supervillain.
Mm.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
I didn't not to bias you. I like this like little like light burst, but to me this looks like a fucking tube of toothpaste. So
It does kind of.
it's like
yeah.
Crest coated.
toothpaste sparkle. I don't know, like
It kind of looks like a
Starlight
brand.
Glimmer. Yeah,
It looks like a brand to me
Yeah.
also, which I don't love. But
yeah.
we'll put her in C just because I don't think like she deserves to be in D.
Above
Sure.
or below.
I think that might end up.
She
just
didn't
being
perpetuate racist
Right.
tropes, so
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Now that sunburst one is beautiful.
that is
Next
Sunburst.
Literally sunburst.
Literally,
very
Sunburst
good.
is his name.
It might be my favorite of all of the cutie marks, just
Aw.
aesthetically.
Yeah, it is really
Hell
cute.
yeah.
So I'm like tempted to do low S just for that.
Hell yeah.
I think putting it's a better sun than Celestia's sun. So it makes sense to
I
put it next to
agree.
Luna.
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
I don't want to influence you on this last one, but this last one is literally my least favorite character. This last one was me watching this show as like a senior in college. Every time she would go up and I say, "Oh, this show isn't made for me. I should turn this shit off. I should watch something else."
Oh.
Yeah, which is
That
probably good since it is like
yeah. So thank you, Trixie. You brought me back.
Trixie.
Brought me back to earth.
Okay, so she's the worst, but she's also like maybe a vital character in this show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
so
totally.
We'll like split the difference, and she can go into C.
All
Because
right.
I like her. I like the image too, but
So
yeah.
what do you think? Top of C?
yeah, sure.
Middle or okay.
We can do top of C. Yeah.
All right. That makes sense. Yeah, I think
All right.
this aesthetically is cuter than these two if gonna be in C. Anyway, I think this makes sense. Well,
Precisely.
Olivia, this is officially, folks, the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Cutie Mark tier list done by no other person could do this but a former horse girl, current horse girl, and now medical doctor, almost not quite a medical doctor, but a doctor who is interested in medicine.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what
Can
I was like.
Oh,
what's
I
the
can do it.
summary?
I can do it.
Okay.
On a scale from S to D, are you a lesbian or racist? Sorry,
Right.
Applejack. Congratulations to Rainbow Dash.
Hell yeah. Very
Yes.
good. This marks the end of our formal interview. Olivia, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for staying long
Yeah,
because
thank you for
we were
staying
just
long.
we were cooking. We were just cooking.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
everything that you said was, I think people really like heard you, and I learned a lot from you just in this interview too. So folks in the chat, you know what to do. Ladders for Dr. Two Ear 5. And if you don't have ladders, GG's.
Who is Two Ear?
Who is Two Ear?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Dr. Two Ear, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta sign your name Dr. Two Ear. Have you done that accidentally before?
No.
You're like,
Yeah.
no, it's like that's official business versus like fun business. So
Yeah, it could be cool to get like a little neon sign though. Dr.
oh my god,
Two Ear.
behind you, that would be super
Yeah.
cute. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be super
It'd be
cute.
good.
Hell yeah. Well, thanks for being on the
Quotes have had me on many levels. Making quotes helped me to get a sense of my own space, sense of finding my way, sense of really working my way out of the labyrinth.